What's going on, everybody? You've got the card board coaches here with your boy, Coach Co. And today we have a very special guest on the podcast. We have Mr. Billy Celio. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, but I'm wondering if I have to have dramatic pauses whenever I speak for the rest of the show. Is that what we're supposed to be doing, or I'm just joking?
That's funny. No dramatic pause is necessary. Although there
Okay.
might be a dramatic pause, right before we talk about where you come from and your role in the sports card space. We do have a fair bit of hockey card collectors who tune into this specific podcast. I mean, we have collectors from all different walks of life, but we tend to resonate a little bit with the hockey card collectors. And I feel like everyone should know that you work for Upper Deck.
Yep. I've been there about 9.5 years now.
That's a long time.
Yeah, my tenure plaque is creeping up on me. I'll have a little more thing to clutter my desk here in about 6 months.
That's amazing. They give you so they give you like a plaque.
Yeah, 5 years, I think you get like a little certificate, and 10 years you get like this big thing with a big X on it. And then as time progresses, they kind of you add on to the big X. But
Really? That's pretty
they
cool.
yeah, they used to have, like, we would have our quarterly meetings, and they used to have your boss say nice things about you. But when COVID started, and then we were getting more and more people with the 5 years and the 10 years,
Yeah.
they kind of cut back on that. So there'll probably be a nice little email with a write-up that someone had to say some nice things about me, but only like one or two people will read it, because they'll just kind of like, oh, another email, let's on to the next one.
Billy, you know what they should do for you, especially because your 10 years coming up right around right around Connor Bedard's rookie season. They should make you like a Billy Celio one of one Bedard. Just like a 10-year parallel. Just like that'd be pretty damn cool. Like
They
whatever
talk
rookie crop that is that year.
there's always talk about, like, how do you get your own card. And we have a lot of humble people in the office that really, don't necessarily want their own card. But you think about it, it is kind of cool. There is a little secret way that people are able to get into trading cards at Upper Deck, but I don't know if I'm allowed to speak upon it. But from a standpoint of putting employees on trading cards, we kind of stay away from that.
Yeah. I was just kidding there. So let's talk a little bit about your role at Upper Deck. So you said that you've been there for 10 years. What exactly do you do at Upper Deck?
So I'm one of the senior product managers, and what I do is I say I build the sets. And what that means is I come up with, the ratios, the inserts, the, you know give kind of direction to everything, and then put everything in through a costing. After I've kind of sketched everything out, we have to hit a specific number. And when all is said and done, I have a big meeting. I write a brief that's anywhere between 20 to 60 pages, and it talks about every single insert, and I give specific directions. There's a lot of different people that are part of the team that make cards. We have our coordinators, who are the guys that build checklists. These are the guys that can tell you who the third, line defenseman on a CHL team is. They know everything and anything
Everybody.
about, like, all the players. And then so they create the checklist. They're the ones that can, we call it allocating the memorabilia and the autographs. They're the ones that kind of have, like, the idea of, when building checklists, who do we have autograph deals with and who do we have memorabilia for. And then we have our brand manager. He's the one that kind of makes sure everything that we're doing, the league approves, or does, make sure that we don't do anything that the league wouldn't approve. We have our legal team that makes sure, insert names that we come up with are, they're not copyrighted. They're not, stepping on anyone's toes. We have our designers, who do an amazing job at Upper Deck. I will say, to the cows come home, I think we have some of the best designers in the business. My direction when I write this brief, I literally use a decoy and draw stick figures, and they have to somehow transfer those stick figures into amazing looking designs. I wish I could show people, like, the starting point of some of these designs to where they end up sometimes, but it's quite comical if you saw what I did. You have your purchasing person who is in charge of, hey, I want this kind of paper or this special kind of medallion in something, or just, that does all the purchasing stuff. You have a photography, I'm looking for portrait style photos. I'm looking for action images, waist up, 3/4 body, all, like, we give specific directions. So this big brief that I write gives direction for everybody else to kind of follow throughout the process of building a set of cards. And what a lot of people don't understand is building a set of cards takes anywhere between, usually, and I used to say this all the time, with COVID, it's obviously become longer, but usually a set of cards can take anywhere between 9 months to 13 months to create. So we kind of follow the process all the way through. The design team will then show us like designs, and we approve or say, this is what I'm looking for, and whatnot, until the end, where we have the set build, and then we have to, there's certain products, stuff like the cup or ultimate or premier, that need specific loops. And what I mean by loops is, we don't want like someone to get all the hits in one box and another box have no hits. So
Yeah.
we try to, for higher end products, to really kind of figure out, okay, here's a case hit, here's a box hit, you're going to get this many of this hits in a box. And we have to sit there with the checklist and kind of make everything on a loop key. And then our vendor follows those directions. We'll put a image gallery together that we put on Facebook. We put a master checklist out that we send to the guys like Cardboard Connections.
Yeah.
And then it finally opens up, and you hope that everything came out as planned.
Yeah, I mean, that is an extensive process that you
Yes.
are at the forefront of, man. So, I mean, there's a reason why you and I were joking about you being famous in Canada, because you are. Because I mean, hockey card collecting wouldn't be the same slash possible at all, realistically, without your involvement. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people, and not just in Canada, but I mean, obviously across the world. But so kudos to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to actually, be on the show. I want to talk a little bit about, we talked about how extensive the process is in creating a set, right? Uh, Over the last few years, so, 2020, 2021, 2022, some of the, I mean, specifically like the edgeware and stuff like that have been at the forefront of the conversations. How does that factor in? Like, how does quality control factor in? What has anything changed recently to affect quality control? Are there, you know, I mean, I can always get better, obviously, and there's always going to be some sort of, there's always going to be like everyone wants a PSE 10 all the time, right? Like, and that's just not quite possible. But I guess my question is, has anything changed? Because it seems like, at the very least, like let's say Cole Caulfield, for instance, that's one young gun that's quite prominently like with that edge, that edge wear, right? Has anything changed recently in terms of like the production process?
I can't really speak on, I mean, I can speak on our part. I can
Yeah.
tell you that we always send someone to our vendors, and when the stuff starts coming off the line, they'll do what we call a case check. They'll go through the cases, they'll make sure all the hits fall where they're supposed to be. They'll make sure that that, like you said, the quality on the cards are there. And we go through it. I've done it myself. Like, they actually flew me out one time to Texas to do these, and you're sitting there and you're sorting everything. You think it's just like coming off the line and stuff. It actually takes some time. And so we'll have someone that goes to our vendors and does all of this stuff. Now, do we have someone at our vendors for 2 straight weeks when these cards are being packed out into the thing? Probably not. We once we see that things are where we like them to be, we hope that everything can stay consistent of what they showed us at the beginning. And I can't really speak upon what our vendors, how they cut cards or whatever. I could just say that we do have a quality control person that goes out there, checks all the sets, makes sure that the hits fall, make sure that the cards look good. And unfortunately, there's times, and this is one of the reasons why when we ask people to, give us a receipt and give us the box, or like the receipt,
The
the
number, the
code on the
serial number.
box,
Yeah, yeah.
because those serial numbers kind of are related to where during the production those cards were packed out. So then they can go back and see was there a problem, was there a feeder jam during this period of time on the line that caused us to miss a hit, or for cards to get damaged, so we can kind of keep track of that sort of stuff. But from a quality control, we obviously we send someone, we care a lot about it, but we can't necessarily control everything that comes out from our vendor.
Yeah, and like just to be clear, like I'm not by any means like trashing Upper Deck's quality control. You know what I mean? Like there are, I can mention so many other companies that are just way worse. But
Well, yeah,
uh,
these vendors are so busy right now. Like
yeah,
they got literally shut down for
yeah,
weeks at a time, and the and then stuff that in previous years they might have had 2 weeks on a line now, or 3 weeks on a line, and they're like, how much time do they have? There's only a specific amount of time that these these vendors can put cards into packs. So they're doing their best to get stuff out there, and we just hope that they're paying attention to quality also.
I mean, I think it's important for you to have even provided the information to the listeners that that whenever you submit the reimbursement request, or the replacement request rather, that all the information that you're giving to Upper Deck, they're actually using that information to find out where the problem took place and potentially deal with that problem moving forward, maybe with this product or another product. I think that's super, I mean, that's interesting. You don't really think about it as like the consumer. You don't really think like, well, what are they going to do with this information? It's almost like it just feels asinine almost. And so it's nice to hear that, using my box number, you guys are kind of able to pinpoint, or at least try to pinpoint, where the mistake went wrong, whether, like you said, a missing hit, or a bunch of frayed edges in the same box or same set, or whatever the case may be. So I mean, I appreciate you, and this is just one of many examples on like how you can provide such great insight to collectors, for hockey products.
Yeah, and believe it or not, those numbers do not mean where specific hits are.
Yeah.
Just so you know, there's I know some other manufacturers might have had that problem, but that's purely on where in the process of the cards being packaged through the vendor. And I know it's kind of a pain in the butt for some people. They're like, why do you need this? Why do you need that?
Yeah.
If we just replaced everything and didn't find out what the problems are or try to fix the solutions, we wouldn't be helping ourselves out at all.
No, I mean, then you guys have to print like twice as much stuff.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make any sense from like a business perspective, obviously. Let's shift to you in Upper Deck. Recently we've had a lot of pretty cool inserts. My favorite is the Fanimation. And that came out, I think it was like, what, 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
It was I do it, I change it up every 2 years. I think we're on the third or fourth iteration, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're close. I think I might be right. Um, my personal favorite. You personally, we had a conversation actually at the expo about the 16-bit. Do you, first of all, have a favorite insert? And then my second question is, actually, I'll ask it afterwards. Let's talk first about, like, do you have a favorite insert? Having had your hands in so many different products throughout the years at Upper Deck, almost 10 years. Do you have a favorite insert with Upper Deck?
Wow, that is a really good question. Um, sometimes I am too clever. Sometimes I'm very clever, and sometimes it just doesn't hit. I'll tell you one of the inserts that I'm really excited for, that's coming up in next year's Series 1 and Series 2 and extended. The portrait cards is one of those inserts that people ignored for a long time.
Yeah.
And, having built it year after year, I'm like, look, we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to make these interesting that people talk about them, whether they love them or they hate them, or we just need to get rid of them. So we made what's now called the Step Brothers, version of the portraits, where it's like the one face with the floating head in the background. And then the next year we made, people call it the Saved by the Bell with the laser beams, and it
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
in the 90s. We tried a couple other things. One year was supposed to be like an old style Western kind of feel. Unfortunately, none of the pictures got cropped the way they were supposed to be. So it's like close up photos, and it's like that sepia. And I had requested all like 3/4 images of
Yeah.
them like portrait
Yeah.
style, and
Yeah.
so it didn't come out the way I wanted to. I think this year's looks pretty cool. Just kind of like a design that I got, artwork I got inspired by that I got to design. But this year's portraits,
So wait,
%,
just to be clear, you mean 2023, 2024? So
23 and
like,
24, the
yeah.
solicitation's out. There's a picture of McDavid. I paid for an artist, yeah, 100% inspired by those like, it's actually a friend of mine did this for themselves also, but you know those dog photos that are on top of like the heads are on top of like royalty bodies,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I paid an artist to take you know, hockey players' heads and put them onto all these like royal looking bodies. McDavid was the king, but there's a whole bunch of other ones coming out,
That's pretty cool.
and it's absolutely amazing. And they even like snuck in a lot of like you know, hidden like logos and stuff for the
Yeah,
team
yeah.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they look absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited about next year's portraits. Again, some people are gonna love them. Some people are gonna think they're ugly, but people are gonna talk about them, and that's all I care about. You got to have some fun with some inserts. Not everything is going to be, you know, this $1,000, 10 years from now, $1,000 insert from
Yeah,
Metal
yeah.
Universe sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's have some fun. One of my favorite inserts that I made was it was called it was an insert. It was called box filler, and people saw the solicitation and the checklist, or before the checklist came out, they saw the solicitation and they're like, dude, Upper Deck just gave up. They're actually just calling an insert box filler. But the play on words, it was all guys that like are no like enforcers, like
That's pretty funny.
Probert and Kosher. Like, I'm a Red Wings guy. It was all guys that were enforcers, and it was like pictures of them going into the penalty box or in the penalty box. And so thus box filler. And I'm like, this is very clever. And I've collected a bunch of those because there's some good Red Wings in that set. I'm a big Red Wings fan.
Yeah.
But that one I was very proud of. And then the one that people have heard about that never got out is my bacon wrap parallel. I made a parallel, and there's literally like bacon strips of bacon on the front, and the whole back just looks like strips of bacon. I'm from the Midwest, but California is known for their bacon wrapped hot dogs. And so when I went to tailgate at a Michigan State game, there was one time I'm like, I don't got a lot of money on me. Let's figure out a cheap way to, you know, feed people at my tailgate.
Yeah.
So I made bacon wrapped hot dogs, and everybody loved them. So I was kind of known whenever I'd go back to East Lansing that I would have bacon wrapped hot dogs there. So I'm like, let's do a bacon wrap parallel. Well, unfortunately, there's some kosher players in the NHL, and we got the design. Like, I have the design on my phone. There is proof that it was made.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I make sure I tell everybody this too, because
What
if
year
one
was
of our
this
competitors,
for?
this was for next year's Allure.
Really?
So if someone tried to copy this, it's out there that the idea came here first, but you know, we made the design, and then the league kind of stepped in. Like I said, we have a brand manager that you know, at first they thought it was okay, but then the more you think about it, it's like you don't want meat touching people that, you know, shouldn't, or pig meat that shouldn't be touched.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of
Yeah.
politics to
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
it was so sad to see go, and people still joke about it in our meetings, but that would have been my favorite insert of all time.
But you still have pictures though, you know? That could
Oh, I
be
have
like
pictures of it. Yep.
that's like it's like deeply rooted in your heart.
Yes, exactly. And we went through a lot. Like, my poor designer, like, I kept having to explain it to her to the point she wanted to just go buy bacon and take pictures of it so she would have the kind of bacon that I wanted on the back of the cards.
That's rich, man. I mean, imagine you telling someone like, "Hey, I need you to go to the store right now and take pictures of bacon." You know,
Yeah.
just go fry up some bacon so that we get the parallel we're looking for here.
Yeah, we have meetings where we go over designs, and there's times where they got, oh, is this another Billy design? Is this another Billy insert? Like, I have a little bit of a reputation for having some oddball stuff. We'll just say that.
So you mentioned your oddball stuff. You mentioned that you have a reputation for oddball stuff. I need to ask, what stuff do you collect personally? Because if it's anything like the bacon wrapped parallels, like we're gonna go down a pretty cool rabbit hole here.
So I love everything Detroit. Born and raised in Michigan, and former Michigan State players, but I collect Red Wings hardcore. I picked up a beautiful monumental stick, Zetterberg
Nice.
at the expo. Yeah, that was my big pickup at the expo. But Lidstrom was my favorite player growing up. Um, and then here's the thing, like I have specific things that I collect. I enjoy wrestling. I've actually moved towards AEW since we've had the license, and honestly, I like the wrestling more than I like the soap opera, and that's more AEW style. So
Yeah.
I do enjoy wrestling. I have one or two specific wrestlers that I hoard all their cards. I do enjoy UFC. I go to International Fight Week every year. I just bought my tickets this week, and I try to get as many like cards signed when I go down there, even though they're not upper deck cards.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I collect entertainment, and when I say entertainment, I'll collect. Upper Deck has the Marvel license, and I collect a lot of that stuff. And I also just go out and collect autographs myself. Being in the trading card market, I don't want to say I become immune to trading cards. I certainly haven't, but part of my job is to open up a case when it comes out and make sure everything falls at the same rate. It's to the point where we're sitting there, we're opening up a case of the cup to check and everything, and we get a Kaprizov, exquisite auto patch, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, I got the case. Like, dude, you
Yeah,
just got
yeah.
like an unbelievable card. You're
Literally
not
like one of the
excited?
best
And I'm
cards you could
just like,
get. Yeah.
I'm like, well, so I'm just using that as an example.
No, for sure,
But
for sure.
so the entertainment stuff is still fun for me because when I living in Michigan, a celebrity is like a radio DJ or like a news anchor or something like that.
Yeah.
And now that I live in Southern California, there's a lot more available for me to see. But that's pretty much the other thing I collect. So a lot of people know that, and then they also know I collect a lot. I mean, I just had my boss go to Frank and Sons, which is this big warehouse of
Yeah, yeah.
collectibles,
For sure. I know
and
that.
I'm like, can you pick me up three more boxes of the 3 panel top loader boxes, because I'm out of space, so I'm still collecting cards, that's for sure. But I also collect entertainment autographs.
That's awesome. You mentioned Upper Deck, the Cup, and Kaprizov, and I have to ask. So I have to. So Kaprizov and Sorokin were, I mean, two of the biggest chases in the product, right? They both came out with sticker autographs. I'm just wondering, and obviously, I mean, there might be things you can say about it, you can't say about it, but why was it that those two guys didn't get hard signed cards?
Like I've said it, I mean, I've said it a bunch. We did everything we could to get them hard signed cards. We went above and beyond, and I wish I could go into all the stories of
No, for
everything that
sure.
we did. I can't, but I mean, we went above and beyond, and it got to the point where, do we delay this even more? Do we make them non-autograph cards, which I can't even imagine
Yeah, I
that
was like, no.
response?
Yeah, no.
Or do we use stickers that we have in inventory? And it became obvious that was the decision. I don't want to say that was the best decision, because the best decision would obviously be hard sign, but that was the decision that probably would have been that's the decision that's the least affected, because people have been waiting for that set of the cup for way too long. And then yeah, we couldn't do anything else. We did everything we could. We went above and beyond, and we just wanted to get the cards in people's hands.
I mean, I think even just hearing that from you is important. You know what I mean? Because people forget that as much as they're like, it's very easy to go after a company and say, oh, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? But like, if you hear someone from the company who's actually has their hand in so many different areas when it comes to like getting this thing out, and if he's sitting here saying that like, we literally did everything we could and that this product was already delayed, and just having that perspective and saying, listen, we want to get you guys these cards. They're already late. So how much more late do you want them to be, right? And even even if we delay them even further, there's still no guarantee that we're gonna have the desired outcome, right? So, I mean, I honestly, I just wanted to know, and I wanted to make sure that everyone who listens to this podcast had the opportunity to just kind of hear what happened there, and that I mean, that you guys hopefully did everything you could, and that, I mean, at the end of the day, it is still a sign. It's a autograph card, right? Like I know that it's almost like we're spoiled at Upper Deck, like with Upper Deck product, with most of our stuff's like hard signed, like especially like when it comes to like and if we look at some of our hard signed stuff versus some of the other companies, and I say our as if like I'm a part of Upper Deck, but like I mainly collect Upper Deck when it comes to, I mean, I can mainly collect soccer and hockey. So, but if you look at some of the other card manufacturers, I mean, they have hard signed cards exponentially more expensive when it comes to buying those products, right? So, like I said, it's almost like we're used to a certain standard, and sometimes the stuff just doesn't happen the way that you expected it to.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said.
Let's talk a little bit about, we talked briefly about 2023, 2024. Big chase, Connor Bedard, of course. What are you guys rolling out? That's, I'm sure, well, there were rumblings of the one of ones. So, I mean, I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. Do you have the prototype? Like, do you know what it's going to look like for the one of ones?
I know the design. So
Okay.
when we built 23, 24, there's a new configuration, and that in itself got a lot of buzz. A lot of people, there's a lot of traditionalists out there, like, I want my 24 packs, I want this and that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, I didn't, when I built it initially as a 24 pack box. And like I said, there's specific numbers that we need to hit, and we weren't even coming close. It wasn't even close, and the content was solid. We didn't want to really mess with anything, and it came through discussion. What if how can we build this product that it costs the same as the previous year, with the content, or maybe even make it better. But I didn't want the price to go up. I
Yeah.
didn't want to, like, year after year, like series 1 or series 2 goes up. So some of the biggest increases, so we'll look at our costing and look at what's costing money, and some of the biggest costs is paper and foil wrap. So it's like, okay, well, what if we cut down the number of packs, which will obviously decrease the amount of foil needed to pack these cards out.
Yeah.
And that did help significantly. And then for paper, what if we like kind of combined it? We knocked out a few base cards, but we also added an extra insert. And people are like, oh, well, it's only like a 50-cent insert. Well, you telling me that 50-cent insert is worth less than 3 base cards? On many occasions, it's not.
Yeah.
So I feel like we actually added more value to the box. You're still getting 6 Young Guns. You're still getting your canvas. Everything has changed. The ratios are just divided by 2. Everything's exactly the same. Plus, there's more insert content. Plus, there's more numbered cards. We've been talking about a one-on-one Young Gun for years, and it just needed to make sense for us to convince everyone that this was the time. And what better time than a Bedard rookie year. I also wanted to add more numbered cards into flagship, because I just felt like people were getting frustrated. They weren't hitting high glosses and exclusives at the rate that they might have been used to 15 years ago. I wanted to get more numbered cards in there. So we're always looking for new technology. We're always looking for new vendors that can create really cool stuff for us, and we found one that prints this like foil board paper, but it's 10 times, it just looks 10 times better than just a regular foil board paper. It's amazing. And so I wanted to create the parallels to, like, I wanted to create like the one-on-one to look like this, because I still didn't want it to step on high gloss, and exclusives.
Yeah.
I want it to look different. So we're knocking out the background of the card. It's just going to be the player with the design, and it has this big burst in the background. And there's the regular one that comes one per box that is basically taking the place of the French parallel.
Ooh.
And then we have the red, which is numbered out of 25, where the background is tinted red. And we have the golds that are now 1-on-1s. We added a deluxe parallel that is numbered 250. So now you're going to have 250, 110, and those are going to look just like the regular Young Guns. And then you're going to have these outbursts, which are one per box, out of 25 and 1-of-1. And we also got rid of, even though it was an Easter egg, we got rid of the clear cut exclusives. So we really added 4 parallels, but we got rid of 2 parallels. So it's
Yeah.
not like we have, 30 different parallels of Young Guns now, but we did add some differences, but then we also wanted to make it look a little bit different. That way it still doesn't step on the toes of the high gloss and the exclusives.
For sure. So the number 25, the red, is that going to be available as a Young Gun as well?
Yes.
Really? So there's going to be like
Yes.
a red Young Gun.
The outburst, the red, and the gold are all picking up the full 250 card set.
So there's going to be, it says 7 Young Gun variations, 1-of-1, the outburst red, the 250, the exclusive, high gloss. I think maybe 6.
I got 10 in my head.
Really?
I've got the 3 different versions of outbursts. So the regular outburst, the red, and the gold.
Okay.
You've got the just the regular Young Gun.
Yeah,
so that's
you're
4.
right. Yeah.
Then you have the exclusive, high gloss, and deluxe. So there's 3 more.
The deluxe is
and
numbered
then
to
you
250,
also have
correct?
you have the clear cut. What was that?
The deluxe is numbered to 250, correct?
No, deluxe. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Deluxe is number 250.
Yeah.
You have the clear cut, and then you also have the rainbow foil and the specker foil, which
That's
are
right.
EPAC
That's
stacking
right.
achievements.
That's right. That's awesome.
And if you want to get technical, you got the jumbos that come in blasters also.
That's true. So I mean, collecting a rainbow could get really interesting nowadays. You know what I mean? Like really interesting.
It is. A rainbow. You got to have the 1-on-1. I mean, that's. And I don't know if you opened much Allure. That was one of the big things with Allure when we made that rainbow insert. Like, how many times do people talk about collecting the rainbow? I wanted to make that set more attainable. Yes, there's only 199 possible rainbows of each specific player, but that's a whole lot better than one person having the 1-on-1 and then just fighting over it and nobody else has a chance to do it.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, I like that about Upper Deck. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people who collect, I mean, you don't see the same kind of urgency to just tear through product and just get like someone gets the 1-of-1 and all of a sudden like all hell breaks loose, right? It's not quite like that with other card companies. I find a lot of people collect Upper Deck because they actually collect and they're not necessarily just chasing hits. And I think that's what starts to happen when you have, I mean, so many of those low numbered parallels, right? So I like that Connor Bedard is going to be accessible for, I mean, a lot of people. Now, when you mentioned some of these parallels, which ones will be available in like blasters, or will they all be available in blasters?
The outburst, the regular outburst will be in blasters, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That's for sure. And I will say this, and here's one thing that people don't understand also about like what goes into EPAC and what goes into hobby boxes.
Yeah.
So the first year that we did EPAC, we were still in the learning groove.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and I think there were like 6 high gloss Jack Eichel Young Guns that were in EPAC as opposed to hobby, which shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah.
And it's just because they sorted, like our vendor just sorted the stuff. So remember I was talking about loops. We've gotten as detailed now to separate cards like that, like this many number, and it goes off of the percentage. So however many cases that we build, I'm just going to, use non-real numbers. Say that there's 100 cards of a player, and 60 of them are in hobby, or the print run is 60% hobby and 40% EPAC. Again, completely made up numbers.
Yes.
60 of the exclusives will be in hobby. 40 of the exclusives will be in EPAC. We actually split it up and have our vendors split the numbers up specifically to the percentage of how much of each SKU is being made. So the SKU like hobby or EPAC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's done specifically. That being said, I will go on record, because I'm building it, and I will be I build it. I have people that
Yeah.
review everything I build. I'm
Yeah.
not taking full credit for everything. But the Bedard 1 of 1 will be in a hobby box. I will
There
say
you
that much.
go.
It will not be saved for EPAC. So all you conspiracists who think that that card's going into EPAC, I will make sure that that card is in hobby. There will be specific directions pointing out that specific card will go into a hobby box.
That's pretty wild. Once it finally makes its way into a hobby box, can we look forward to that in series 1, series 2? I know a lot of people are asking.
So some people say I can say this, some people say I can't say anything. So what I will say is that we are print using the same vendor that has been doing an amazing job the last 2 to 3 sets. We had our little rounded corner issue, and it's gone overseas to be printed, and because of that, the timing and stuff, shipping and stuff like that, it's really only allowed us to put holdover rookies into series 1. So I'll let you guys do the math on where you think that might show up, but I can't say anything specifically.
I mean that I think we're good then. I think we're good. Billy, you're the best. Let's talk a little bit. I mean, how did you even get into this space, man? Where does your collecting journey start?
So
Because I mean, you're so
I started
passionate.
off
You're a genuine guy.
yeah.
Like I love it.
I mean, I was a kid growing up collecting. The first set that I really started collecting it was probably 2, and it's kind of funny because one of them's entertainment, but it was 97 Topps baseball with the wood border. Fell in
Nice.
love with that set as a kid. Who didn't want to get a Mark? Everyone wanted that Mark McGwire rookie. If you had the money, you would try to get that USA 95 card, but it is what it is. And I collected a lot of Temple of Doom and Return of the Jedi cards as a kid too, because
Really?
those were all over the place. So I collected as a kid. I would ride my bicycle to the golf course and pick cans out of the garbage, because in Michigan cans are worth 10 cents a piece.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
usually by like hole 2 or 3, there's like 8 to 10 cans in each garbage thing. So I would sit there, I'd have a garbage bag, I would ride my bike to the golf course, which was a couple miles from my house. I would take
The
I call them
cans.
pop cans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm from the Midwest.
That's all
I,
right.
I get the pop cans. I'd go to the grocery store, turn those in, and then buy myself some 35, 40 cent packs of Topps baseball and Star Wars and or Return of the Jedi and Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. That's where I kind of started. I collected all the way up until college. When you get into college, you kind of spend money on other things.
Yeah, of course.
And then when I finished college, I kind of got into it again and collected. And so people always ask how I got to Upper Deck. One of my really good friends from college married somebody. I moved to California, and she's just like, hey, you want to, like, we did a couple double dates, and it ended up being Jason Mashra. What, she
Wow.
married Jason Mashra. First time I met Jason Mashra was
Wow.
at his wedding.
Yeah.
I had coached I had coached a soccer tournament, and I was late, and I only made it to the reception. I didn't even go. I didn't even make the wedding. I made the
Wow.
reception. So that was the first time I met him. And it was so funny. We hit it off. I just started talking. I didn't know what he did for a living,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we still like, wait, you work for Upper Deck, and like my eyes were huge and big. I spent more time talking to him than I did his wife, and so we just kind of kept talking. Every now and then, I'd buy a box at my card shop, and I was like, I just bought this all-time greats and got a BJ Armstrong autograph. Like, come on, what is, like, just jokingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that I look back on it, I was like, I can't believe he even took my text messages, because if people were bugging me with that stuff, I would just like push them to the side. But so I was sitting there, and I worked in the restaurant business for a number of years, and I did marketing and catering for Famous Dave's. I was a manager on the board, like different restaurants out in California, and I got a job working at another restaurant, and they offered me this marketing position, and a week later the GM left, and then I was waiting tables, and I'm just like, my knees and feet are just shot. I played
Yeah.
soccer for 30 years, and
Yeah.
arthritis creeped in, and he calls me up one day. He's like, what's your situation right now, Billy? And I'm like, honestly, once the holidays is done, I'm ready to leave this place. I'm
Yeah.
looking for something else. He's like, well, I don't know if you heard, but Richard's passed away, and I've stepped up as the president. And he goes, and I make sure I say this. He's like, I can't hire you. He goes, I let my people hire who they want to hire. And he goes, but I can get your resume in. I'm like, okay, sounds great. So he turned in my resume, and there were a couple positions open. There was the product development, which was my position, and then there was a coordinator who I mentioned is the guy that does the checklist.
Yeah.
And I had about 3 or 4 interviews. And what's crazy is, like, in Michigan, like, you walk into a place and ask to speak to a manager, and it's like you almost get an interview there.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
it's like you have a phone interview. You have this. You have, I was kind of jealous, because I just drove down from LA to Oceanside, and it was like, an hour and a half or 2 hour drive. They flew in, like, some of the other people that got hired. Like,
Oh,
wait,
really?
you got a plane from Tony, my counterpart. He's the other senior product
Yeah.
manager. They flew him in from Chicago. I'm like, man,
For the
they
interview?
treated you nice, yeah.
That's
But
nice.
they I hit it. I guess I did well in my interview. I laugh because they asked, like, my least favorite card, like my favorite set, and at the time it was Alan Ginter. That was back
Yeah.
when you actually used to get autograph cards in every
Yeah.
box. And they're like, well, what's your like? And they're asking stuff, and like my least favorite in, like, card, I think I told them was an Upper Deck card.
That's so
It
funny.
was that 20 something autograph Michael Jordan with all North Carolina, and they wasted like 20 something labels
Yeah.
on a
Yeah. Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
I'm like, this makes no sense to me. I mean, yeah, it's you can talk about it, but it just made absolutely zero sense, that card, because it's all like North Carolina. It's not like you're showing like different seasons and as a
No,
bull.
exactly.
You're
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
showing a bunch of. So I was like, well, I still thought it went well. And Grant Sandground, who is our vice president of product development now, he seemed to have a liking towards me, and I got hired. I was very, very fortunate that my first 6 months on the job was literally sitting next to him at his desk, with him showing me how everything works. What a lot of people might not know about Grant is he actually used to work for Beckett. He was the guy that made the values, like that,
Wow.
figured out
Yeah.
values
Yeah.
for cards. So if there's anyone that's going to know something about card value, it's going to be a guy that held that position at some point. So he taught me so much, and I do my best to pass that information on to my counterparts at Upper Deck. But he's absolutely amazing. So As I said, luckily he liked me. When this position is, you have to know how to work numbers.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of experience with that in the restaurant business. Um, I had to deal with food costs, liquor costs, labor costs, mise
Yeah.
en scène, all that stuff. And what I had to learn was, okay, how can I apply this to trading cards? All that stuff. Now it's paper costs, decafoil costs, and you just need to learn how to manipulate numbers. And so I did have some background in being able to work with numbers and manipulate it. Now I did say I was skilled in Excel. I said that until I saw the Excel sheets that they
Yeah.
have at Upper Deck and the ones that Grant built, and I was like, I don't know anything about
Yeah, yeah,
Excel.
yeah.
Like I can know formulas, but this guy had, like, I'm playing chess, and this dude's got like the 3D chess level boards
He's
and
got like
stuff with
four
his Excel
screens
sheets.
going, you know?
Exactly. So, um, and then you kind of have to know the card market. You have to know what's valuable. Like you can create a set that margins out great, but if nobody buys it because there's no hits in it and there's no, then it's not going to work. So it's hard to find people that can do both of those things. And then it's also hard to find people that can do both of those things that aren't already in the industry
Yeah.
and doing something already towards the industry. So, I enjoy my job. I love it. It took me 30 something years to, as I say, get my dream job. But, it, like, we had our, my, my review a couple years back. My boss is like, what's your 5-year plan? That cheesy
Yeah, yeah,
question.
always,
And
always.
I always want to answer it like, from Big Daddy, where he's just like, "Don't die," Adam Sandler. But I told him, I'm like, I'm doing what I want to do. Like, I love this position, and he used to do what I did, and now he gets to oversee it all. I go, but I like coming up with the concepts myself. And Grant
Yeah.
Grant gets involved. Grant does come up with some amazing ideas and still helps us out, and we'll like look at our builds and say, well, why don't you do this? And he still has his thumbprint on everything that comes out of Upper Deck. But I just love the ability to be the one that kind of comes up with the ideas and the concepts and stuff. So I'm happy where I'm at. They just keep giving me more responsibilities. Like that's how they justify people. Like for me, like, okay,
Yeah.
well, do you want to stay at the same position? Yes. Well, let's just keep you moving up, but have you moving up by helping you teach people and reviewing stuff and that sort of thing.
I mean, I think it's amazing that we've got someone who's as passionate, and hopefully everyone who's listening can hear just how passionate you are, Billy, about, sports cards and the collectible space in general, and having someone have like that with such a big pivotal role in Upper Deck is pretty wonderful to hear, at least, from firsthand experience. Billy, if you had to give our guests one thing to look forward to from Upper Deck in the next 6 months, what would it be?
Um, Man, so I know I'm pretty sure there's some names that I really like in the Metal Champions coming out, but that's not
Nice.
my set. If
Yeah.
you want me to kind of, I mean, I definitely give credit where credit's due with my counterparts, and I know Metal Champions looks amazing again. The two that I'll tell you the ones I'm excited about that I built.
Yeah.
Um, is I think Ice is going to be one of the next ones out. I think it's still about a month away, but Ice is coming out. And the one thing about Ice is, we were realistic about getting products out,
Yeah.
and it was a tough decision, but they decided not to produce 2021 Ice.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that guys like Robertson and Lafreniere, whatever, that they had their Ice premieres out of 99, assuming they're 99. I say that
Yes.
I don't remember what
Yes.
Robertson is because he was a 249 in the cup, but
Yeah.
you know, um, I think Ice is stacked. I like the product. I say that doesn't mean everybody go buy it, and I'm not telling everybody
Yeah.
go
Yeah. Yeah.
buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just realized what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
really like the product. I do,
Yeah.
because I like the bonus pack, because you could technically, the bonus packs are just kind of like mystery packs almost. We don't know
Yeah.
what's in there. You could get a 99 Cider and a 99 Robertson in the same box. That could happen because those bonus packs are just kind of blind packs. And then one of the biggest ones I'm super excited about, and it's not even hockey, and I apologize,
No,
but
no,
it's
don't apologize. Go for it.
Marvel Allure. I'm telling you right now, I've seen the checklist and the signers. This is the biggest list of signers that any Marvel product has ever had. I would put it up against um any entertainment set period. You've got the big names like Hemsworth, and it's a phase 1 through 3. It's taken a while to come out, but the only good thing that's happened is we've been able to add more people to it
Yeah.
because we've had more time to get more deals done. But it's got like Evans and Hemsworth, big name Hiddleston, everyone loves. Gosh, trying to, like, Tessa Thompson's in it, Kat Denning's in it, Jamie Alexander made a return, Elizabeth Debicki, Elizabeth Olsen. Um, it's I think even Dave Batista has a card in there.
I mean, that sounds like a stacked checklist.
Don Cheadle,
Ooh.
Anthony Mackie, Jeremy Renner, Sebastian Stan, Emily Van Camp. I'm sitting here going through the TV shows in my head. Paul Bettany, like all people from the TV shows, people from the movies. We brought people back that haven't signed in a number of years. Like Tessa hasn't had a card since the previous Thor 2 movie ago. Jamie Alexander hasn't had a card even farther than that. It's ridiculous. The checklist for that set is, as I said, one of the biggest Marvel sets from an autograph standpoint that I and you're talking to someone that religiously collected the Black Diamond set. I have the full Exquisite base set. I have the full Black Diamond base set. I have a number of autographs and memorabilia cards from that set. I absolutely love that set. I'm super excited. It's a different technology. It's a different kind of card, but the autograph list is phenomenal. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about Metal Champions because I like a lot of the names that they got in there. There's a few hometown boys that I'm excited about. I'm excited about ice hockey, and I'm excited about one more. I don't know
I
when
love
it's
it. I mean,
coming,
all you're
but
doing is giving us a ton of information. So this is beautiful.
Metal Universe AEW.
What?
That's gonna be, that one. PMGs for all these wrestlers. We've put out some flagship. We put out a high end set with Spectrum, but we've got Metal Universe AEW. That one's gonna do very well. Or that one I'm really excited for also.
Yeah. Billy, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Cardboard Coaches podcast today, and really not only putting a face to Upper Deck, but to show all of our listeners and audibly anyway, really where the hobby is in terms of in good hands. So I really appreciate that, man.
No problem. And again, I love and enjoy everything that you do. I know not everything, like, people aren't going to love everything that we do.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't mention our introduction story where I literally just came up to you at the Hobby Insider dinner and said, "Come on, how do you feel about the 16-bit cards now?"
I know.
And had to explain everything. But I love the content that you do. Anything that we can do to help out. But thank you for having me on.
Of course, man. Appreciate it. Team, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Cardboard Coaches. For now, Cardboard Coaches are out of here. Peace.